Welcome everyone to our April monthly meetup for Australasia Preserves. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this event is being broadcast from, the land of the Wurundjeri, and pay respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I would like to let everybody know this meeting is being recorded. We're going to record the presentations and share them with the Australasia Preserves YouTube channel. But I will not be recording the discussion and question time, so we can have a robust and free time here today. If you are a Twitterer, please do be noisy if you can, using the hashtag #OzPreserves. And the chat function you'll find down the bottom of your Zoom window. Use this to say hello, give us a roll call, yell out if there's any issues with sound or the technology as we go. We'll try and fix it on the fly. And if you have questions as you go through, we'll have question time at the end of our 3 speakers today. So if you've got questions as we go, feel free to chuck them in the chat box so we can get going straight away. A note on our code of conduct. Australasia Preserves, we are a very diverse community from a wide range of social, cultural, and professional backgrounds. So we do ask that everybody brings a spirit of respect and friendly inquiry to all of our interactions here. We do encourage everyone to be familiar with our code of conduct as well. So, housekeeping over. Without further ado, I would like to introduce the first of our wonderful 3 speakers today. First up, we have Makayla Hart, Digital Archivist at the Department of Health and Human Services. Makayla's core values are social justice, collaboration, and access to information, and her work in the department provides ample opportunity to apply these. On any given day, Makayla can be found working with care leaver and Indigenous advocacy groups to facilitate understanding of and access to the department's archives. She's also developing the technical specifications for a digital record keeping forensic lab, or at the moment, she's also explaining to people why they can't take archives home. So, over to you, Makayla, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Jay. Put up your hands. Anyone else having to explain a lot why people can't take archives home? Oh my God, I am speaking. Hello, everybody. I feel like I want to start every chat at the moment with just like, let's just all curl up and see how everyone is. But there's too many of us to do that today and we don't have time. But, I am speaking to you from 50 Lonsdale Street today because I got to come into the office. And my business unit have had to very quickly scale up digitisation of incoming mail for the department. There's over 10,000 staff and we have an appallingly huge number, I don't even know what it is, amount of mail that's come in. So I've been spending at least 2 days a week on just making sure that I get my 10 cents worth and making sure. And this morning I just spent some time opening mail, which was quite fun. But today I'm going to talk to you about, I got asked to talk about the personal digital archiving zine that I made for the department. And before these current times, a lot of my focus within the department was about lifting the profile of the archivist and my position, and by virtue of that, the records management unit. And that was, it was a bit of a test. So I've started years ago, just started chipping away at doing some internal comms and writing some articles once a week and so forth. And lots of people ended up expressing surprise that the department even had an archivist. So that's certainly not the case anymore. But I also wanted to just start sharing some of my knowledge that the staff could use in their everyday lives, in almost like a, here I know some stuff that maybe you don't know that might be able to help you out. And then over this last summer, during the bushfire season, I found myself in a lot of ad hoc conversations with people about around archiving and record keeping and photographs, and telling people about how I grew up in the country and living through Ash Wednesday in 1983. I was 11 at the time. The memory of what my family loaded into our car as we evacuated is seared into my brain. It was the photo albums and the metal tin with all the important documents. And I've got a bit of a tech nerd family as well, so as technology's evolved, so have we, and now our family have all got all of the family documents and photographs digitised. The metadata is astounding. And we have them backed up across continents, and I started talking to people about, I think this current bushfire season really brought home for people where their gaps were in their family archives and their personal digital archiving. And we were talking a lot around within the department about emergency management and the types of things that people needed to have with them. And we were issuing advice about, like, make sure you take your phone charger with you and your phone and your backup and all of that sort of stuff. And at the same time supporting our regional officers around what their emergency management plans were for their records. So just operating from a hunch, really, and because I wanted to do it, I suggested to my manager, Chris, and to Dina, who's our comms officer, how about we make a personal digital archiving zine and run an event? And the first couple of things I got were, what's a zine? So I'm lucky I had a couple on hand. If anyone hasn't seen there's a few really great ones that have come out of North America. And I'm really lucky. Dina is not only our comms officer, she does amazing illustrations. So she kind of quite quickly jumped on board the idea. I want to share something with you. And it's an animation that she did of me. I'm not sure how it'll go, so bear with me. So we booked some space in the foyer at 50 Lonsdale, and for those of you that have ever been here, it's pretty busy. There's about 10,000 people in this building, and I just thought 3 hours covering that sort of the morning tea to after lunchtime hours might be worth it, and we'll see if anybody was interested. And we started advertising it just as an opportunity to get 5 minutes with the digital archivist to talk about get some tips on your own personal digital archiving. And it was successful beyond our wildest dreams. We printed out 100. We were sending people upstairs to print out more and get some more. I put some photographs from our archives on the table, which is always a draw card to bring people over. But the benefits that I couldn't have planned were the ones that the conversations that I got to have with people that I'd not met before in the department, the tech workmate who had written some code to dedupe his photos. We had a great banter about the importance of context and the quick and dirty tech solution versus the more time-consuming archival description, and how we need both. And he emailed me later on to give me the link to his GitHub reference for that code. And the depth that came past to get his zine. He brought one of the ministers with him. He later told me he'd taken it home and shown his family. Like, the DepSec took my zine home. And as always, it's me. So the stories that really resonated were the ones that where people got an opportunity to talk about the importance of photographs to their personal history work. And it meant that I had opportunities to get in front of colleagues to talk about my work, which means that it's an opening for conversations around the work that I've been doing around photographs with care leavers and Indigenous advocacy groups, and all sorts of other cool things like that. Later that afternoon, after that first event, my inbox was full with people wanting to follow up. So I had a request from the vaccination nurse team who were hoping that they could access some of the old 1950s vaccination photographs to use in their presentations. Yeah, and just one simple bit of something for nothing sharing ended up being really a really positive experience for me and for the department, hopefully. Anyway, I wanted to show you, this is the zine. And I just I came up with the principle of just using it's as easy as ADP, so arrange, describe, preserve, and just gave people some really quick, simple key principles around record keeping and digital archiving. So it's just got a little driver for why you need to get your personal archives in raw order, all the different devices that you need. So that's sort of the arrange piece. Give people permission to delete stuff. It's amazing how people think that they just keep everything, and to just do some quality control and delete that. And I gave people some ideas around description, how to do some file structures and some own personal system architecture, and then some really basic preservation things. Talk to them about the locks principle and yeah, it's just a very quick overview of the difference between cloud-based storage and portable devices and things like that, and then just how often to run checks. And that's always with the expectation that most people are never going to be completely up to speed, and I'll be the first to admit even my personal digital archive is in need of some love. But at the end of the day, if people can implement a few of these things, and at the same time they know who I am and that they know what I can provide them within the department for their work, then I think it was a win. So I'm still reluctant. I'm new to the zine making business, but I know a lot of zinesters don't like their zines digitised, and I'm still trying to decide where I sit on that spectrum. But if anyone, and so at the moment I haven't digitised it, but if anyone wants one, let me know and I will post one to you. I think that's me. I think I'm done. Thanks, Jake, and everybody.
Thanks, Makayla. That was perfectly on time. I didn't even have to use my dance get off music for you. Well done. So next up, we're going to go straight into Joanne. Joanne Evans will be talking to us today on emerging personal digital archiving tools for kids in out-of-home care, and a little bit about her team's research as well. So Joanne is an archival and record-keeping researcher and educator in the Faculty of Information Technology at Monash University. She is currently lead of the Societal Informatics subgroup and coordinator of the Records Continuum Research Group in the Center of Organizational and Social Informatics. Joanne's research involves the exploration of participatory design and research strategies to develop dynamic evidence and memory management frameworks, processes, and systems supportive of multiple rights in records and record keeping. So Joanne, it's over to you.
Thanks a lot, Jay, and I'd like to acknowledge the people of the Boonwurrung who is on lands from who I'm coming from today, and pay my respect to their elders, past, present and emerging. And I guess listening to Makayla, I'm actually surrounded here by my very disorganised family archive, which if there was an emergency, would not be able to save much of it, because it's all pretty much in disorder and chaos, which is, I think is it the bootmaker's children. It's like it's the worst example. But yes, it makes me think of just how important personal records are, and and perhaps my disappointment at times that the archive's not organised, so that they're not playing that active role that they could and should have, because it's so difficult to actually you know, get access to things and use them on the fly. And that's what I feel is really important about personal family record keeping, is to always remember that it isn't about putting them away in the neat boxes on the shelves, but about them playing an active part in family life. So I've got some slides, so I'm going to hopefully share the right screen with you. And let me see. Oh, that's interesting. I think that's the one. Okay, here we go. Okay, no, it's not going to, I'll just stop share. Okay. I'm meant to be good at this, but it's not. I'm having a bit of trouble. Okay, here I'll try again. Now I don't seem to be able to get it on slide view for sharing.
Do you want to try just, yeah, you got it. We got it. Nice work.
The issue around records for those who experience out-of-home care, and how there's been significant failings in this area for so many years, where the records are not playing, they're not, those personal records about a person's childhood are not being created at times, they're not being kept at times, they're being lost along the fractured and fragmented journeys that people take in the care system. And this is a sketch note from the summit that we held in 2017, which every time I look at it, I'm just reminded of what we're trying to do, moving from the sort of organisation-centric record keeping to record keeping which puts the child and young person and the adult that they become at the centre of the frameworks in which we create and manage records. So it's should be personable, it should be a human framework, and it should be that valuable life record. So the good news is that since the summit, there's been some emergent developments, which are fantastic to see happening. And so what I'm just going to do is just run through those and then put our what we've been doing in the Rights and Records by Design project in the context of complementing those. So here's again some more wonderful sketch notes from the summit to sort of illustrate the range of issues that people, care leavers identified regarding their records. So again, that source of inspiration for what we're doing. So in Queensland, there's been a development called Kickbox. This has been done through the Department of Communities, and it's been developed through a co-design process, a very creative team up there. That they can use to not only keep track of their important personal documents, but also as a way to interact with their child safety officer as well too. So it has that communicative aspect to it as well too, that instead of having to negotiate a whole lot of other systems, this is a way that they can feel that close to their child safety officer, and that they can send messages to them securely and privately. Developed through a co-design process, a team that's really dedicated to making sure that kids in care have access to these important documents. And perhaps, I suppose this has been recorded, so I know when I spoke to them, it was a case of doing it and not necessarily getting too hung up about the record keeping ownership issues that it might raise, because that would have got in the way of actually getting on with its development. A really great development. There's a little video, so I might play that so you can get a feel for what they're trying to do. Is that coming through?
Not yet, we haven't got anything.
Have you got it now? Are you seeing the screen?
We've got sound, but no
An app for
screen.
kids in care, designed by kids in care and young people with a care experience.
Okay, right, so that's going to be the problem with doing that. Okay, I'll have to swap shares. I think it's worthwhile having a look, so just bear with me. Okay, here we go.
Kickbox is an app for kids in care, designed by kids in care and young people with a care experience. The app is a safe place to store your memories and information. Only you and your child safety workers can see what's in your Kickbox account. Kickbox makes it easy to locate important documents wherever you are. Imagine you're applying for a job and you need your birth certificate. No problem. It's as simple as logging in and clicking on the link. The app connects you with your child safety workers. You can check out their profiles and chat with them using the private message function. Messaging is a great way just to say hey or to tell your CSO how you're feeling. If something is going on and you want to tell your CSO but you don't want to call them, send them a message instead. You can even see when they've read your message. Kickbox is also a safe place for you to create the goals that you want to achieve. You can keep track of what you may want to do in the future and look back at goals to reflect on what you've already achieved. This helps your CSO understand what your goals are so that they can help you take the right steps to achieve them. My life in Kickbox is a bit like a secure digital photo album. You and your CSO can see stories, photos and videos and create lasting memories. There's no limit to the memories that can be stored here, and you'll always have access to them. Your life story is important, your identity is important, you are important. Document it all here for your future self and imagine 10 years from now being able to look back at your milestones. Laugh, cry, cringe, but most importantly, celebrate your journey. Speak to your CSO today about how you can register for Kickbox.
Okay, so okay, so yeah, and again, that's, I mean, it's great to see a development like that. It's also a real reminder, I think, when you watch the video, what it's like to kind of have your personal records being overseen by that there's it's a step towards having a your own personal space, but at the same time that personal sorry, I've got one or two many things open. There we go. So yes, having to share your personal space, it's just a real reminder of what that's like. So I think really great development, but it is such that real reminder of when, you're caught up in the child protection system. There's a whole lot of strangers that are in your life and can potentially have access to your personal records, and how that follows you through life as well too. So I think it's something that we have to think about, how we can get the balance right with these kind of tools. So the next one to talk about is Caring Life. And this is a platform that's been developed in Victoria with some foster carers who decided that they wanted to become foster carers, did the training, and were told about how they should collect records and make records with their foster child, and then said, and so what do we do? And we're told, oh, you can put it on a USB stick, and they were just horrified. And being technical people, they actually then just set about creating Caring Life as an online platform to enable foster carers to actually build that photo and video album to capture those memories, and to have a safe and secure place that they could upload them to and have them there. And what I really like about what they've done is that they've set it up so that if a child moves placements, then the platform moves with the child, so it doesn't get recreated every time. So you go to a new placement and you end up starting from scratch again without your memories. You can actually, it's centered on the child and should move with the child through their placements. So I think that's a very good model, not without issues, but I think it starts to get that centeredness on the need to have that continuity of access to your personal photograph archive, and the need to continue to be able to tell stories and to maintain relationships with the past experiences, because that's also a very important part of personal record keeping, that it is there to support your relationships with people, and that sometimes, I know for myself, my family archive has a lot of memories of people who are no longer with me. So that's an important part of the role these records play in our lives. So in that context, we've been doing research in the Rights and Records by Design project. And our goal was not at all to go over the ground that those other apps had done, but to think about what we were going to bring to the problem, given our record keeping expertise and experience. And so what we did is we looked at the idea of lifelong living, and we got together a small team of care leavers, younger care leavers. They're in the sort of 20 to 30 age bracket, in order to sort of develop a prototype of this idea of the lifelong living archives. And what we did was we held a series of workshops. Oops. Oh. The shared window just closed by itself, so I'll just reopen it.
Oh, the fun of technology, eh?
I'm having real ball here. Okay, how are we going there? Has that done it? Oh, sorry, my PowerPoint decided to crash. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so we held a series of workshops over an 18-month period, and we've written about the process in this information research, and we presented at the Rails conference. So that was a really good opportunity, because it wasn't just the prototype, but it was the prototyping process that we felt was really important. And that's just to say that it wasn't a straightforward, that we ranged all around the problem and the solution spaces in those workshops. So yes, not exactly a straight line process at all. And so what we were sort of conceptualizing was to say that if you're a kid in care, you're actually a client of so many systems. It's like your life is fractured and fragmented over a whole range of different systems that you have, very little control over. And so what we thought is that what happens if, instead of just creating a repository to sort of capture records, we actually conceptualize this as a record keeping system that would be your record keeping system, and that it would be able to interact on the same level with these other record keeping systems, rather than just sort of capturing the artifacts. That could actually be connected and integrated, and have the ability to call on records from those other systems in a more interoperable and integrated way. And so called this My System. So that's the MISI prototype. And essentially what we have done is actually created a registry system, an ability to be able to register records, to have the records can be deposited in the repository, but they can also be just a registry to where they might exist out in this distributed network. So our prototype has been focused on how you would manage that distributed record keeping perspective, rather than necessarily trying to bring it all together into the one place. So a Kickbox or a Caring Life could be part of this network, but the role of MISI is to kind of play this role of identifying where your records are and deciding when and where you're going to bring them together, and then who you're going to, when you want to use those records, how and who you're going to share them with. How much time have I got left, Jay?
You've got a minute till the get off dancing music.
Oh, right. Okay. So I don't have time, but yes, we have got a little landing page to show you. That's probably for another presentation to actually show you what it kind of looks like. Okay, thanks. I'll stop sharing.
Thanks, Joanne. I think we could actually have a whole half hour and more on that topic. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, we've got a couple of questions for you, so hang about. But first, I think we're going to throw straight to Monica Galassi, who is going to talk to us all about the Australian Mukurtu Hub. So Monica is an Italian anthropologist and PhD student who has worked in Australia since 2010 on different projects and initiatives to support Indigenous self-determination in libraries and archives. Monica is passionate about finding ways to promote human rights and equity of access, in particular through physical and digital archives. Monica is a core member of the New South Wales Australian Mukurtu Hub of the Indigenous Archives Collective, and collaborates with the Jumbunna Institute for Indigenous Education and Research at UTS. Monica, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Jay. Can you hear me? Right. So before starting, I would like as well to acknowledge the traditional owner of the land where I'm speaking from today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respect to their elders past and present, and also acknowledge any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander person that is joining us today. So thanks to Rachel, to Jay, and to the Australasia Preserve to having me. And you have already introduced me, Jay, but what I would like to repeat as well is that all my work and currently my PhD have in common a passion commitment to finding ways to promote human rights and equity of access for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people So even if I collaborated with some projects that are national, my focus is pretty much on New South Wales. I also would like to start with a quick note about, for me, the importance of community of practice. That's why it's very good to be with all of you here. Because I believe the community of practice have the power to really listen and make changes and impact the life of real people, not only practitioners, in a way that institutions, in my experience, sometimes don't have the power to reach. So I think having fluid community of practice, which can assist people and practitioners, communities and family, really can help to build this global, local and global relationship, which can make really a difference. And I think, you know, Makayla and Joanne, they both showed great example of this, on how passionate people in you know, different situations and different contexts can really make a difference. So I would like to share a couple of slides as well with all of you. So the idea is and experiences that I will be sharing today are related to the shared work of the New South Wales Australia Makayla Hub, which was built by Kirsten Thorpe and her team at the John Bana Institute for Indigenous Education and Research at UTS, myself and other member of the State Library of New South Wales, and started at the Center of Digital for Digital Curation and Scholarship at Washington State University in the US, under the leadership of Dr. Kimberly Kristen. This partnership was created with the idea in mind of making support to communities sustainable, and to put together a group of people who are committed to establishing long-term partnership with Aboriginal communities, really independently from the institutions we work in. Myself, I've been at the State Library of New South Wales for 7 years, and I just left a couple of weeks ago. But still, the work, you know, that we do with communities doesn't change. So we all occupy the space of Indigenous-led research with different expertise in digital preservation, co-design, archival collection, and digital systems. So when today I will be speaking about the New South Wales Australian Makayla Hub, I will be referring to a community of practice that was built to support Aboriginal peoples and communities who want to manage, preserve and share their cultural heritage and knowledge, including their personal digital archives. So the Hub mission is to share skills in digital archiving and stewardship, while supporting the development of future local digital keeping places using the content management system Makayla, which I will introduce in a minute. So as many of you will know, some of the records held by collecting institutions in Australia and overseas are, or better should, be a part of personal archives, as they hold personal information and information related to people's histories, history stories, cultural knowledge. And Joanne clearly showed that with her, you know, her experience of children in care. So Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities are no an exception, really, and our archival records that are held in libraries and archives are still in 2020 very difficult to access, in particular if you live in a remote area. And I think all this coronavirus situation have really highlighted all the imbalances and problems that this can create. And also they're across different institutions, they're dispersed. And also this means that many of the catalog that from where people can access these records related to themselves and their family still perpetuate trauma, because they still use racist language, wrong metadata, lack community narrative and cultural protocols. So many institutions, including the State Library of New South Wales, where I used to work, but many other, this is not just a New South Wales really focus, but I would say that it's worldwide. So many institutions have been focusing over the last years to find solutions to reconnect these records to the communities they belong to in culturally appropriate ways. So to achieve this goal, we've been working in different institutions to establish relationships and implement the platform Makayla, which is a content management system that was specifically developed for Indigenous contents. Makayla has been built by Dr. Kimberly Kristen in the US through communities' feedback and participation in Australia, America, Canada, Hawaii, and many other Indigenous communities across the globe. And it's currently based at Washington State University in the US. So Makayla, I won't speak long about Makayla, but just would like to mention that as a whole set of functionalities which allow local and institution collection to be organized, accessed and managed, following the community favorite cultural protocols. So this is the Makayla side of the State Library in New South Wales, which has been just launched, and that I've been working on for 3 years now. And I just would like to show it to you. Just would like to show you, you know, how it does work. It's basically used by the State Library of New South Wales to showcase their collection and connect them to communities and provide all a set of functionalities that allow an institution, like with so many different communities, to really highlight for people. I hope you all can see there are the opportunity for communities to add their cultural knowledge, their community narrative, to use protocols. So it's a very diverse system that has been built on indigenous knowledge. Another, sorry, and I'm going back to my PowerPoint. I hope you all can see it. Another example that I would like to show you, it's a very personal example, and that's the Makayla site that I built for my local family and community archive from the place where I come from, Italy, and it's been really an attempt to use a system like this to see if this system was flexible enough to be used by different communities that were not indigenous. And it was, and it really shows how some functionalities can be used by other communities to manage their personal archiving, because the point is that my family is using this site according to their rules, needs, and how you can see languages. So when going back to our work, what the Makayla team in the US led was not only the creation of a new and innovative system, but we're working on a wider and deeper change in the direction of see how institution and university can support self-determination of First Nation communities, both in institutional collections and in personal archiving on country. And that's where their work and ours met. In fact, in New South Wales, years of work with communities clearly highlighted a big gap in digitizing, preserving, and managing Aboriginal collections on a local level. People often don't trust government institutions for, history, clear reasons, and prefer to keep their photos, diaries, memories, born digital contents on their phones, the garage, there's the sheds, and also the teen. I think there's a teen in every family. And they are concerned about matters such as copyright, cultural knowledge, respect to cultural protocols while digitizing this material, storage of data, and so on. And when speaking about support of local collection, I think the biggest lesson that I had in the last 10 years has been that it's very clear that the notion of success of communities and institutions are very, very different. So listening to these requirements and requests, we have been shifting the question from how personal digital archives can be developed for Aboriginal peoples and communities to how can we support Aboriginal people and communities to care for their own archives in a way which matters to them. So while collaborating with the Mokachu team in the US, we wanted to understand how other Indigenous communities around the world manage this, and what we could do and what we could offer really to respond to these needs. So in the last 10 years, the conversation around digital access in New South Wales have focused on the choice of multiple digital systems that can be used to support local archives and local digital keeping place for Aboriginal communities, Aboriginal local organizations and families on country. While the choice of the system, it is obviously an important choice, Aboriginal people, communities and organizations have all pointed out that before choosing the right digital platform, there is a big gap in terms of curation, digital preservation and skill transfer. So in the US, the model which is used, like you can see on the screen, is based on 5 hubs, which are center of support for the local communities. And as you can see on the left, there's a University of Oregon, Yale Libraries, Wisconsin, Hawaii, one in Alaska. And this is because they can provide training to communities closer to them and make it scalable and sustainable. The model adopted is the train-the-trainer model. So that ensures that all information shared stay in communities, make them independent from us. So the hub also gather feedback on the use of the system, Mokachu CMS, and filter it back to Washington State University where the code is based. So they always ensure that a system like Mokachu continue to be built and updated according to community needs and to support them in their local collection and the local digital archiving. So the hubs provide guidance and training to communities who wish to gain more insights into digital manage their local collection on country, and in this case is the spoke. So, and going back to us, like you can see on the screen, we are the first Mokachu hub, which has been formed outside the US. So we are still building our, community of practice while working in partnership with communities to create local digital keeping places on country. So the support that we provide include training, digitization of collection on site, and support for hosting. Preservation, and I'm sure you all been part of this group, I'm sure you all know this very, very well. It's one of the most complex questions that we have at the moment. And the only thing that we are sure is that for every community and preservation, we require a different answer according to what people want. And we require solution which embed and balance expert knowledge and community ownership, really. So what I'm showing you now is the central website of the New South Wales Australian Mokachu Hub. And the site has a growing set of resources, which I will go directly to the site now. Here we go. So this is the central website. We make it live just at the end of last year, but you can see that there are different components, and I invite you, all of you, to have a look and play with it and give us feedback. So on the right, where there is the section Test Mokachu CMS, you will see that you will be introduced to a testing Mokachu site, so you can try and play and see if Mokachu could be a good system for access of your collections. In the Mokachu community, there are examples of Mokachu use across the world. And in the section of resources, you will see that there are different material. Some have been taken, like the digital stewardship curriculum has been taken from the Sustainable Heritage Network, which has been created again from the Mocacho team in the US and other and with other community partners. They're all about providing training and sharing skills to community, so every community can take the basic professional knowledge of caring for their collection, but after take them back home and shape them according to community aspirations. In the first section where it's written "Start Your Journey Here," it is a community archive toolkit that we are working on, that it's based on New South Wales experiences, and you will see it's a growing resource because we want to create something that it's flexible enough for people to be used and reused, and again in their not only in their local institution, but really in their also family and communities, and create something that that means something for them. So to summarize everything that I said, I think the work related to personal digital archiving with Aboriginal communities goes back again to the key importance of trust and respect. So to be able to navigate this space, in my case, and in case of some of my colleagues, being accomplishing allies in this space, is really about listening to what self-determination means for communities and for different people. And the reality is that this notion is often, if not always in my experience, very different from what collecting institution and cultural institution promote as best practice. So and that's where the role of communities of practice to me comes into play, because we're supporting communities during their journey for self-determination is not only related to which institution you work for, but it's about change our practice while listening to community, and to support led research, led Indigenous research, and support the amazing local work that is happening, because communities have been doing this for a long time. So I think just, really listen and understand how we can help. Thank you.
I would like to quickly give the floor to Peter Niche to talk about our next meetup for Australasia Preserves.
Thanks, Jay. Yeah, our next meetup is going to follow on from the digitisation event that we had in February. So that was really looking at digitisation and preservation. We're going to have a sort of wrap up of that event. So some of the notes and ideas that came out of that, how to move that forward. We're also going to have a talk from Kim Williams from the University of Sydney to sort of recap what she talked about at VALA this year, which was around documenting digital collections processes and digitisation. So that will be at 1 p.m. on the 29th of May, but check out the Oz Preserves list for the details for that.
Thank you, Peter. So finally, give a big virtual clap to our wonderful speakers again. Makayla, Joanne, Monica, thank you so much for sharing. Oh, the virtual claps, how cool is that? And also, Rachel, give us a wave. Rachel Trapia, thank you for pulling together our wonderful speakers. It's been really fantastic. So we will see everybody on the forum and also next month for our meetup. So take care, everyone, and thank you for coming.